Hello, my name is John for DriveHUD, and in this video we're going to take a look at how to create custom stats. So let's dive right in here. So to create a custom stat, we just go up here to the filters pull down, where you select custom stats, get the custom stat pull up, and here if you notice we have a message saying please stop auto import before editing custom stats. So we do have our auto import running, so we need to close this and click on the stop here. And this is because when you create a custom stat, it is outside of the cache system. Once you create a new custom stat, the cache needs to rebuild. It can't do that while the importer is running. So now we have that stopped, we can bring up our custom stats again. And when we get this pop up on the left-hand side here, you'll see a list of any existing custom stats that you've created. Once you create a custom stat, it's available in all reports, HUD stats, R&D, anywhere that DriveHUD uses a stat, you'll be able to add it by just searching for the name that you created for it. You can also highlight any of them and click remove if you don't want that stat anymore. So we're going to go ahead and create a new one, click add. On the right-hand side here, you'll see details. It asks for a name, an expression, and a data type. This will default to percentage because nearly all of these stats that we create are going to be a percentage, something divided by something else. But you can select this to return just a raw number, like if you wanted big blinds or something, just use a number, or you can select money, and this will include decimal places, like for something like net 1. We're going to go ahead and do a couple examples of some percentage stats. I'm going to do something that a stat that already exists. So I would show you how it's going to look actually if you created the expression here. And we're going to do full to cbet single raised pot out of position. So this is going to be our name that we're going to be giving it. Now our expression, as you start typing in, you'll get hints about how to continue. There are some key factors that you're going to want to know. We have a really good KB article that goes over kind of the most common terms used, how those fit in, along with some examples. I'll kind of show that at the end here. But to begin with, this is going to be so when we're creating a calculation in our expression, we're always going to want to start with the word count. So it knows that it's going to be counting the information between these parentheses. So we'll do count parentheses, and we're basically going to type out folded to flop continuation bet equals yes. Now, if it turns to blue here when you're typing this out, that means you have a correct expression. Again, I would use a KB article to reference some of the terms you might be looking to use. So we're going to do yes, and is single raised pot equals yes. Because like I said, we're doing a full cbet single raised pot. Now if we want to change this to full cbet and 3-bet pot, we would instead do in 3-bet pot equals yes. But again, we're doing in a single raised pot equals yes, and flop out of position equals yes. Because again, we want to look at out of position. So now it's going to do a calculation on everything that's in between these parentheses, and we want to divide it. We're going to create a denominator here. And again, we're going to start with count. And here you get a list of, if you use any of the prompts, then you will also be prompted, and you can scroll through here to find information. So something I should have pointed out at the beginning here. I started with count and I selected count, then it'll give me a bunch of prompts. These can be good leads if you're not sure what to do, So you have all the expressions to kind of start with: did, cold, call, and big line, button, so on and so on. So anyways, so we're doing count, we're going to fill in this parentheses. We're going to do facing flop continuation bet equals yes. And flop, and here it is, equals yes. And is single raised pot. Oops, daisy, made a mistake. Is single raised pot equals yes. And flop out of position, let's select that again, equals yes. And there is our expression. So just click save. And as you see, it'll show up over here. I'm actually going to rename this just in case, because I know we have two. I'm going to put X here. Okay. So if I go ahead and I close this, and I look to add it in a report, I can right click on the column header here. I can go fold to CBET, single raised pot, and I can see our new stats right there. So we can just drag and drop it to a report here. Click apply, and we will see it on screen. So there we go, right there. All right. So let's go through, let's try another example. So I'm going to go ahead and go up here, load my custom stats again. Click add. And this one I'm going to do called flop c-bet and 3-bet pot out of position. Called flop c-bet. And I can obviously, I can put any name in here I want, abbreviate this however I want, whatever formatting is going to be most memorable. All right. So this time I'm going to start with the helper system so that we can kind of use that to guide us the whole way. So count. And then we have our brackets right here. So we're going to do call flop continuation bet equals yes. And in 3-bet pot equals yes. And flop out of position equals yes. And that's it. So we're going to close that. And then we're going to say divided by, so we're going to do a space, divided by, start with our count again, and facing flop continuation bet equals yes. And in 3-bet pot equals yes. And flop out of position equals yes. Oops. Go back here. If you lose the helper, you just kind of go and delete one character and it'll come back up for you. Equals yes. And that's it. There's our expression. So we can save that. Boom. And now we have it. And again, we'll be able to add that to any report, HUD stat, R&D, anything else that DriveHUD uses in a stat. And then, like I said, a good reference to kind of understand a few more examples and kind of the top most common used terms. I would reference this KB article. I'm going to bring it up right now for you. So here we go. If you just go to the support section, searching KB articles for custom stats, you'll be able to find this article. And here's a couple more examples, kind of like what we went through. Again, definitely use the helper when you're still first getting used to everything. It'll make things a lot easier. There's a first list of the most commonly used terms for the expressions. So like position, stack size, flop actions, turn, so on, single raise plot, three bet plot, all that. So this is actually showing the frequency of how often it's used in the current existing stats. In DriveHUD, I'm sure this will change over time, but this is essentially these top ones here will give you a good list of what's used most often and kind of a little description for them. And then if you go all the way down here, did I already pass it? There is a complete list of all terms. So this will show you anything. You can also just search this in the KB article itself. It's a little bit more difficult because obviously you know some of the terms that are associated, but you can use this as a reference. I would definitely say use the helper. If you start typing in one part of something, it'll search and kind of lead you usually towards the right direction. And something important just to keep in mind whenever you're creating new stats is the format is always going to be you're looking at some action and whether it happened. So in this case, I'm looking at when the flop continuation bet was called. So we're saying when this happened, divided by how many potential times we faced the situation. So it's usually always going to be a called, folded, raised, whatever the action is, divided by facing that same thing. So once you figure out whatever your initial action is here, in this case again called flop continuation bet, then you know it's still going to be flop continuation bet, but it's going to be facing flop continuation bet. So that's just kind of an extra cue to think in your mind when you're starting to type these out, just to make it simpler. You're going to do whatever the action is. When you get down to all the particulars that you want about the hand, three bet pot, out of position, yada yada. When you take that into your denominator, you just want to make sure that you are putting facing that action and then the same particulars here in three bet pot, flop out of position. So action and then facing. So and if you ever have any questions, just ask support, but that should definitely give you a good base. And then the great thing is, again, you're not limited by whatever is pre-existing in DriveHUD. Anything else you really want to create going forward as far as a stat, you can do. It's all accessible. So I hope this has been helpful, and good luck at the poker tables.